Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rahakwadash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and salutations to the Akim who are tuning into these videos. This video is going to be another MOTB update because we are going to constantly ring this alarm, sounding this trumpet in Zion, because this is part of prophecy. Now, with this MOTB update, you have a few articles about that Apple phone, the company that makes the iPhones. Specifically in this article, which I'm not going to go into all these articles because the titles speak for themselves, but the Synchron company, who's behind their brain chip, they're going to let people navigate iPhones and iPads only using their minds. And an iPad is like a very sleek computer, and it's very compatible with a lot of things. You could pretty much hook that up to your refrigerator, your car, your Tesla car. All these things are basically going to have all these Internet of Things. Everything's going to work in tandem, all working together. And so if you're going to have all these devices hooked up everywhere, going to a store, being able to buy and sell, you're touching the screen and doing all these wireless transactions with their devices. All these bank cards that we have now are either already on your phone or have that device, that technology of radio frequency identification. And so with these articles, with what he saw Edom doing his diligent search on these things to try to push forward his agenda with this MOTB, he's allowing people to be able to be connected to those iPads, to their phones. And we've been seeing it as the years been rolling when this devil is talking about the MOTB, how very convenient it is, how cool it is, how easy your life can be if you're just hooked up to an iPhone. And so, like with this article, well, I'll read here the AI overview first, because I googled Apple brain chip, but it says Apple is developing a brain-computer interface technology that would allow users to control iPhones, iPads, and Apple Vision Pro headsets with their thoughts. And I've actually encountered a few of these techies here in the city with that Apple headset. They're literally just walking around the city in VR. And so these people are pretty much primed and ready to receive this MOTB. And you still have people amongst the circumcision, all these various camps, even certain churches, like in the world, Christian churches, Catholic churches, they're not saying anything about the MOTB, even though that is a big focal point in prophecy in the scriptures. Just letting you know that they are not of the Spirit. They are pastors who are spreading the flock, who are causing dismay and confusion, because this is something that was spoken about in the book of Revelation. And you can see that everybody's pretty much ready to receive this stuff. And anybody who speaks against it, namely Great Millstone, is going to be a gazing stock, a laughing stock. And people are going to dismiss what we're saying and make a whole bunch of excuses or statements saying that we don't know what we're talking about. But this is through the spirit of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai that we are speaking this so that his sheep hear his voice, so that we don't take this device. And it's nothing that we're going to play around with. There is no repentance coming from this. We're not going to accept this device inside of our brains. But let me see. Just going to read a little bit more of this paragraph. Starting from here, it says, this technology involves brain implants that captures neural links, neural signals, which are then converted into digital commands to interact with this device. Apple is collaborating with neurotechnology startup Synchron on the Stendrode device and implantable PCI. So you got all these articles, because this came out yesterday or 2 days ago, but I actually did not hear about this until I went on YouTube and started watching lessons from the brothers, people speaking on this. This was not on my For You page or anything, and this is big news right here. So like this one says, Apple's news tech may soon let people control iPhones with their brain chip. Apple wants to connect thoughts to iPhone control, and there's a very good reason for it. It says Apple probes next frontier with new brain implant standard, but what it really needs is, let me see, is what it really needs to sell more iPhones. Just basically he's showing you these devils are doing a diligent search. And this is a miracle ultimately, but it's on the left-hand side. And we were told not to take this MOTB. Now, I'm going to read just a few precepts and I'm going to finish this video, because all this video, really, the purpose of it is just to sound that alarm, ringing the bell as we're watchmen set up to see these things. So this first precept I want to read is in Romans 16 and 17. Now I beseech you, brethren, mark them which cause division and offenses contrary to the doctrine which ye have learned, and avoid them. And just says what the apostles have said. If a two-third doesn't get it, we're moving on. If you don't want to accept the glory of Yahweh B'Hashem Yahweh Shai and have your sins cleansed through the remission and the baptism of his word, you don't want to be a part of this flock, you don't want to be a part of the wedding, well, then we're going to mark you. You're going to be on the bowl list at that wedding. You're not going to be invited to that wedding. You're going to be stopped at by the security. And if you manage to sneak in somehow through a window, we're going to know you snuck in, because this doctrine is part of our garments that are made of white, pure, that doesn't have all these other philosophies. That's what the wedding garments are representing. And this MOTB is not something that we're going to dismiss or like make it seem like it's not something as big as it is. It is part of the scriptures. It is part of prophecy. It is part of our duty as watchmen to sound the alarm when we see these things. And we're making it plain upon tables, just like it says in the book of Habakkuk. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak, and it's speaking. So I'm going to read from verse 17 again. Now I beseech you, brethren, mark them which cause divisions and offenses contrary to the doctrine which ye have learned, and avoid them. And this goes also to these other various camps. That's why when we do these videos, anybody who's coming through these YouTube channels, Great Millstone, they want to learn something that we tell you that you should learn, at least listen, is that you should not listen to all these various Hebrew Israelite camps, because they are causing division. They are amongst the circumcision, but they are not part of us. They were never with us, because they're ultimately not speaking the testimony of Yahweh Shai, which is the spirit of prophecy, which I'm going to get in a little bit. But I want to read in verse 18. It says, for they that are such serve not our Lord, Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, but their own belly, and by good words and fair speeches deceiveth the hearts of the simple. And one that comes up to my mind is Sakari. And I personally don't know a whole bunch of Sakari, but being in this ministry, and when I have to watch what they're doing, all the weird things, weird behavior, things that they say, I would see their videos and see that they're selling a lot of merchandise. They're basically just making merchandise of this ministry. And, just to fast forward, because I'm not going to get too deep into the darkness that would happen with that specific group, is that their fruits weren't profitable. They're not part of this thing because they're ultimately filling their own belly. And if you see these other camps, IOIC, for example, they're really just trying to get a whole bunch of people. That's why their doctrine is very streamlined. It's very easy. It's only got the sweet and none of the bitter. But here at Great Millstone, a bitter part of it is when we sound that alarm, because you're at ease, you're calmed down. But once you hear that alarm, you have to get up, get everything that you need to get and evacuate, or to take up arms in this spiritual warfare. So we're marking them, and those who are causing contrary to the doctrine that we're speaking, who are causing divisions, making offenses, and we're ultimately avoiding them. If they don't come with us with the same doctrine, we're not inviting them to our house, and neither are we giving them Godspeed. It's just business at the end of the day. If you don't want to listen to the alarm, the blood is off our hands. We did our job. All right, so this other precept is in Isaiah 8 and 20. It says, to the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them. And they are, these other people,
really the broad gate, the rest of this world, your family members, they are part of that broad gate. They are not speaking this testimony. They're not speaking according to this word of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, the kingdom, and all these things. They are basically just in this world. And we are separate from this world. We are walking that straight and narrow path. And part of that is that you have to be a watchman to watch for these things, measuring the times diligently. And so we can see that what we're working for, what our faith lies in, our salvation is nearer than we believe. Because these things, as we're sounding this alarm, it's a good thing. Because now we're actually doing our job. Now we're looking forward and hastening the return of Yahweh Shai. Because this is all part of the prophecy that was laid out in the scriptures. And this is in Revelation 19 and 10. And yes, we bring this out a lot of times because this ultimately is how we measure other people. And we mark them that are contrary to this doctrine. If you don't want to speak about the MOTB and the intricacies of what Esau Edom is trying to devise with the thing, then you are not part of this ministry. You are not part of the wedding that we're getting ready to go to. This is in Revelation 19 and 10. And I fell at his feet to worship him, and he said unto me, See thou do it not. I am thy fellow servant and of thy brethren that have the testimony of Yahweh Shai. Worship the Most High, for the testimony of Yahweh Shai is the spirit of prophecy, and we are prophesying. And when this happens, then shall they know that a prophet hath been among them. And really, you could have said this 10 years ago, 15 years ago, because as the apostles were being laughed at 30 plus years ago about this MOTB and all the breakdowns that they were giving freely, a lot of people were laughing at them. But now, fast forward to today's times, this is headline news. This is stuff that people are looking forward to. And then you look at the typical mundane Moabite, Ammonite, Ishmaelite, or Edomite in this world. They are ready for this device. And specifically, the 2/3 are going to be ready for this device because this is part of prophecy. A lot of people are going to take that MOTB because, one, they are disregarding the alarm, and two, because they're acknowledging the alarm, but they're against it. They want to be a part of this society, so they're going to take that covenant with Esau Edom. And so the last precept I wanted to read is in Joel 2 and 1. Blow ye the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of the Lord, Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai cometh, for it is nigh at hand. And we are not waiting idly. We are hastening unto the day. And so, as I'm constantly doing these videos on the MOTB, expect to see more. Expect to see more up until the return of Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai. But with that, I want to give all praises to Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai, B'Hashem Rachak Wadash. Shalom, Akim.